Here we are on August 12th, 2022 for Why Did You Start RPGing in the First Place? RPG a day. Here we go. As we continue along, let's take a look at what we got going on. So, why? Well, one, it was fun and interesting. It's a great way to sit around with friends and have an imaginative way to hang out. Granted, sure, you could sit around and just tell stories and interact with each other, like the way we used to take our GI Joes and we'd build these forts and take rubber band guns and take turns shooting them across, kind of like the old pop guns that they used to have for, I guess, what was it, Little Wars or whatever from H.G. Wells. But a lot of us at that time, of course, you're not in high school. We're all kind of reading the same books. A lot of us were, doing various different things, like learning how to draw or learning how to paint or do whatever. Some people were very great at creative writing at the time. And, well, I mean, what you thought was creative writing at the time as a kid. And this just seemed a way for us to have some guidance, some guidelines, some rules, some guardrails to keep us playing cooperatively together. There was never an adversarial bent that I had growing up as a GM and running games for my friends. Back then, it really was all about having fun. There were still, like there was atypical of back in the days, those gotcha moments. And, those cursed items, heaven forbid, or forfend the fact that we use them. But overall, I think it was just one of the best ways that we could all get together and work on something. Because it was all of ours. It wasn't just one person. Sure, I was running games at least 85 to 90% of the time. But they were modules. I just read through the modules. I tried to stay organized with them. And we didn't always use everything 100% the way it was. By the time we got to late in high school, we had been playing D&D for a very long time. And we had gone back a little bit more and played BECME, primarily basic and companion. And we started tinkering about that time, trying different things. These were the early days when, Critical Role tables came out in Dragon magazine. They were reprinted in the early annuals that came out. And there were classes that were made, and one of the guys in our group was really great at math and was really great at building classes. So there were some, and I'm sure they were broken. They never got played all the way through. I really don't think that any of our characters ever made it past 8th to 9th level anyway, to be totally broken at high level. But it was the most interesting creative exercise we could all do together. If we got together and drew, those of us that were like trying to draw or learn to draw at the time, it's still an individual activity. Yeah, sure, you're all drawing together, but you're not working on the same thing together. And there were a few times where we did collaborate on a sketch pad, but there were never as many fruitful experiences as there were playing role-playing games. You learn to really get to know the people who you're calling your friends. Those people I played with way back then are some of the people that I knew the best. I don't know many of them as much as I did then as I don't now, because as you grow up and you become an adult and people kind of grow apart. But I remember having fun with all of them. Every group of people that I had as players were either a class below me in high school, middle school, or a class or two above me in high school, middle school. And our experience in playing the game together was just probably one of the strongest bonding things that we could have had happen. I would not be surprised that if I managed to come across a few of those people, if they were or not still playing, I could probably tempt them into a game and it would come back pretty easily. You know, the idea of role playing as an activity is not that hard to get back into. It's not something that you can really. It's like kind of like riding a bike, right? That's what they say. You may have been away from it for a while, but it's just that easy to get back in the swing of things. You know, it was a way for us to get away from everything happening in school. It was a way for us as a group to get away from parents and just hang out with each other. We were playing in Boy Scout troop buildings over here, not too far from my house, and hanging out there with friends who were in the Boy Scouts, going to the shopping mall, going to the Mid-Continent Public Library where we would play D&D there. So I found all kinds of ways and different places to play, and it was just fun and imaginative and creative, and people will say this too, it's educational. I'm not going to say that it's life-changing. It definitely had an impact on my life. It definitely had an impact on the way that I have an ability to collaborate with people, to understand them through interaction, to have a conversation, to listen, to reply, and carry on that loop of communication. It's definitely got some skills in it that you can use to take the training wheels off if you're having a difficult time. But that, for me, that was why I started and kind of stuck with it. And to this day, August 12th, 2022, RPG a day. Stay cool, be friendly, introduce some people to some more games, and give yourself a break. If you've been out there running games, try and convince somebody else to run one.